everyone. It's been a while since I've even done a video or a live for that matter, but I'm super excited to be here today with Emily Tuck, who is an expert in new paradigm relationships and twin flames. This is a topic that so many people I know are interested in, and relationships are actually a key component of our growth journey, which is one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about having Emily on for this conversation today. So if you are with us live, be sure to comment and say hello, and definitely ask us any questions that you might have as we go on through. And with all of that being said, actually really quick before I introduce Emily and let her share more about her work with you, for those of you who actually don't know me, my name is Jennifer Spohr, and I work with conscious leaders who are feeling called to go deeper in living their purpose and creating more impact through living their purpose and bringing forward more of their soul gifts and wisdom that are already within them. So with all of that being said, here's Emily. Welcome, Emily.
Thank you so much for having me, Jennifer. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to this chat, see where it takes us.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love, if you could, I'd love for you to share more with whoever's watching more about the work that you do that will help, that I think will help kind of tee up the conversation we're having today.
Of course. So once upon a time, I started out as a holistic practitioner, and obviously this is not the long version, you know, we're going back that far, we need popcorn. But essentially what kept coming through was getting people somehow onto what it was they were meant to do in life and peeling off the layers. And wherever I went, it led me, whatever clients walked in the door, it led me to their relationships. It was always in their relationships and in their intimacy that the key was to whatever it is they would do later, whatever their legacy was. And so over the years, I've realized that these things are intertwined, and more specifically with twin flames. Now, to be clear, I do work with twin flames. I also work with other people who are trying to remodel their relationship paradigms and their legacy that aren't necessarily in twin flame contract. However, it was like the universe knew they were my people before I did. So people kept finding me, and I was working with them, assuming that they weren't twin flames, and finding that they were. So more recently, I've just gone, do you know what? That is what I do, because the universe has clearly decided that before I did. So I'm not working with them reluctantly, but I'm finally naming it for what it actually is rather than assuming it. And so what happens in that dynamic, you talked about it just now, about the idea that, you know, getting people to do what it is they're meant to do and their soul, what they're here to do for their soul mission or whatever. And it's the same, twin flames have that double strand. They have a soul mission that needs to be completed or, you know, partaken of, you know, whether you complete it in this lifetime or not, at least you have been on that journey. And there is also a relationship component. And what happens is that the twin flame activates and then is a catalyst for growth. And that growth is it's a more of an inner journey. So externally, they have triggered it, but it's an internal process of what are you capable of, it highlights your fears, it highlights your shadows. And then as you work through those, whether those fears come from this life, a past life, ancestrally inherited, as you clean them off, what happens is you're then able to step into what you're born to do. So this then feeds into the soul mission. And I'm finding that even the couples, the twins, as it were, the pairs, they also have a shared mission between themselves, whether they know what it is when they start. And so you often find them doing variations of, do you know what, this has been amazing, I think we should work together. Wouldn't it be amazing if we did this together? Or suddenly they start business together where they wouldn't have done before. Mm-hmm. And so that becomes the plaited piece, that it's not just your soul mission and it's not just your relationship. And when people get caught up on seeing it just as the relationship coordinate, they can miss the other portion of it. Mm-hmm. So it blends them perfectly. And in terms of my own journey, I've actually done that in a previous life as well. Like I worked with couples like that in a previous life as well. So it's looped back to be a mission that I do again. So it's all sorts of threads.
Awesome. So I see some people have joined us. So please say hi and let us know you're here, and certainly ask us any questions you have. And Emily, I have a lot of questions.
Go ahead. Let me just see if I can answer them. And we'll go from there.
Well, the first one is to clarify, just because there are so many different ways that people define twin flames out there. Is a twin flame relationship always romantic, or can it be platonic as well? Because as you know, we can experience several different incarnations, you know, with the same kind of group of souls. So
yes, and based on that, I think the idea that it either needs to be A, only romantic, or B, only not conventional, because twin flames aren't conventional by design, but let's say a heterosexual couple, for example. The universe is bigger than that. Like, if we've lived in multiple lives and multiple genders and multiple permutations so that we can learn different lessons, the idea that it has to look a certain way, I think it narrows it. So yes, it does have that component, but not necessarily. What I find, and what I've been shown as well, is that the mission is more important than the romantic relationship in principle. So if, for example, the mission needs to be completed by you being friends rather than lovers, or by being platonic because that's what will catalyst the growth, or by maybe having been together and now being apart, that will take priority over, for example, the romantic component. The ideal is always that it is in union, and that you are having both the soul mission and the union of the two souls, of the two, in theory, the two halves of the soul. But it doesn't have to look male, female, couples only. No, not at all. That's much too narrow, I find.
Yeah. Thank you so much for clarifying that, because I know that there is I feel like it's a misconception out there, right? That twin flame is always this intense romantic relationship, which it can be, right? But I just feel like
Absolutely.
there are so many other variables or potential combinations and scenarios out there. And what you said to back that was just really key, I think, around it really depends on where those souls are at in their evolution, right? And really kind of like what are the key points of the journey that are driving them toward that expansion.
Yeah. And I think, if, for example, I've been a woman in one life and a man in another life,
yes,
like,
exactly.
what does that say about the shape of the soul? But if the two souls are making their way, or the two bits of the soul are making their way back to each other, then regardless of the makeup they are in, it's the meeting of the souls that makes the difference. So therefore, you now need it to be a little bit wider than just a typical romantic relationship.
I would love for you to share what are some of the signs, I guess, to look out for, to kind of know if you are in that twin flame relationship, or if you've already met that person.
So the way I work when I work with people is I work on the basis that they may or may not be when they start. Let's say, for example, they come to me and they're like, I think they are. Okay, whether or not you think you are will remain to be seen as we go along. Because the part of the journey, and this is where it works very well for other people taking on the paradigm of using that as a template for a conscious relationship, is the process begins the same, which is they come into your life as a catalyst. Now, whether you know that at the time, so sometimes you can know that person for a long time and the dynamic is dormant because it hasn't been activated yet. And so they could have been a friend for a while. They could be someone that pops in and out of your life. That's often a big key, is that they pop in and out. So what you do is you start with where you are, and you start working on what are they bringing up for you? What is it they are activating for you? What is it that it's making you afraid of? What is it you need to look at? And as you start reframing what you want relationships to look like, when you start working on all of that, if they're a twin flame, it will have a certain pattern to it. Whereas if they're, for example, a soulmate that's walked in to help you with something and you have a karmic contract with that person, when you resolve it, will leave and never return. as opposed to keep magnetizing back to you. So there's that part. There's also a kind of instant recognition of each other, even if it's at a very subconscious level. There's a profound trust between you, even if you can't verbalize why and how. Like, I trust you, and I don't even know why. Because and it's because you recognize them and they recognize you. They don't know what they may or may not know what they've seen, but there's a profound trust there. And so that's how it kind of starts. And then what happens is, once it starts to activate itself, once you start to say yes, so a lot of people can know their twin flame but not know they are one, not know that that's that person. And at the moment they turn around and say yes, I'm walking into whatever this is about, whether it's friendship, whether it's as a lover, as whatever else, it starts to activate. And at that point, it's almost like anything you've got in the tank that you haven't dealt with, anything you haven't looked at, goes on go fast. It goes on a go fast. Suddenly it's all there. It's all available, and it's all out to be seen, and it's all ready to be looked at. All your fears, all your concerns, all the things that society tell you should do. And you're like, I don't know if I want that. Does this work for me? I'm not sure I do want that. And so then it's like, right, that's how you know. Because it's an invitation to grow. Your other interesting part of it is there'll be a magnetizing to them, and equally you'll be terrified. Like, this is amazing. Oh, what's this done? I'm just gonna go and watch paint dry while I just anything. Oh my god, they're hypnotic. I'm just gonna go and do the thing. I'll be back later. See ya. And that's what the runner does. They run. They're like, I'm just gonna go.
I have a question for you about the soulmate versus the twin flame. So, and just to kind of for you to further clarify the difference between the two, with a soulmate, you know, you can have a contract with that soul, right?
Yes.
But because we're humans and we have free will, if we don't fulfill that contract, right, that person can also kind of come back around. So because we're being presented with an invitation to mastery, right? So it's kind of like if you have a contract with the person and you've not met it because of some type of free will decision that where you change directions on your path, what would be like the difference between that and a twin flame that is like keeps coming back? Does that make sense?
I think it does, yes. I'll answer the question as best I can, and stop me if I'm answering a different question.
Yeah.
So where I was shown it very early on in my own journey was I went through a phase where almost everybody I met, even like people I met at the bus stop, genuinely, I met a soulmate on the bus. Genuinely met her at the bus stop. But these people come into your life for a purpose, right? For that contract to be resolved. However long that takes and whatever shape it takes, I think a soulmate eventually, if you work through the karmic stuff and you do what you need to do around that past life that they've been in and their all lives they've been in, they leave because the contract closes and there's a feeling. The best way I can describe it is it feels clean. Feels clean. It's like I like this person, or maybe we're not friends anymore, or maybe I'll always love this person, but you know what? There's nothing else to learn from this person. I'm done. If they walk away, that's fine. You're not upset by the fact that they've left. Because what you've come to learn has been done. And what happened for me was I had maybe, 5-6 years where pretty much everybody I met, I had known in a different life. And there were very condensed periods where it was like, okay, so this particular person, what are they here to teach me? This particular person, what are they here to teach me? And I just kind of worked through whatever was coming up around that life, and then trying to make opposite choices, or how can we undo what we did in the previous life so that as we go forwards we make a different choice, or we undo that impact, because when you arrive in this life you repeat the patterns. The agreements and decisions from the previous one will take precedent, so you undo those and you make different choices, and as a result the reason why you met that soul is done. And so what I found was these people would come into my life and go, They would stay, maybe they would stay for years, maybe they would stay for a couple of months. It depended on the person and the journey, and how much I was also active in trying to transform it. If you are just letting it sit there, you could be in it for years because you haven't learned what you need to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you're active in clearing that process, they can be gone in months. They can be gone in a year because you've done what you need to.
Mm-hmm.
But they leave, and now, in my experience, they never return. There is a point where they go and never return. Whereas when you're looking at a twin flame, it's, in a way, it's kind of the opposite. They do magnetize in and out because you need to be able to go away and deal with your own stuff in the absence of them in the separation phase. But it's almost like you clean out in order that as you get to the tail end of the journey, you can be in union and stay that way for the remainder of this lifetime and beyond. But it's this idea that you clean out in order to spend more time together, as opposed to clean out in order that you part.
To part ways. I love, yeah, thank you so much for clarifying that.
That's how Spirit explained it to me.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think that's for people to understand, just because beyond just the discussion around twin flames, relationships in general, right, are some of our greatest teachers. So.
And so this is where, when people work with me, I have a 12-month container that I take people on for the twin flame journey, partly because it can take that long to go through the layers. And it's an injustice to the people on the journey to say, oh, it's 12 weeks, you'll be fine, because it's not. Make it 12 months and really dedicate yourself to it. But what happens is, if you rock up and you think that you are in a twin flame, but you're not sure, we begin with the same coordinates. And the ones that are the soulmates, the karmic contracts, and the non-twin flames, and just somebody I knew once who I'm in a relationship with, or somebody who I think might be and I'm not quite sure. Mm-hmm. As you clean off those layers, the karmic contracts and the past lives and the soulmates finish what they're meant to do. And they leave, and then you go, right, so now I'm single, or have I magnetized in the person who is now the twin flame? But because you begin the same, it becomes very clear as you go along.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever does everyone that works with you, have they already met, do they think they've already met their twin flame? Or sometimes is someone taking a proactive approach to, like, I want to meet my twin flame, and they already think they have an idea of what that means, but then they come to you to work through that?
So it can be either, because I believe there is what I call a preparation phase. So whether that preparation, what you do is you rock up going, I feel like I need to do something bigger than this, or maybe my relationships need redefining. I have one woman, for example, who came to me not coming for relationship coaching in any way. She was coming because she had seen some stuff I'd written on LinkedIn about the sacred prostitute and how it calls you into stepping into your greatest power and you working with the goddess Lilith. She was drawn to that, and it was about 6 sessions in, I went, you do realize that you're in a twin flame dynamic? And she went, oh. So she didn't know that when she came. So she was coming off the soul mission strand, not the relationship strand. But the other part is that they come to me, and sometimes they are preparing. So they come in under a different outfit, but they are preparing themselves for that journey. So it can take anything from, like, say, 6 months, 12 months, depends. But there is a preparation phase where you go, what do I want in relationships? Now, this could be because you're single. This could be because you're in a relationship and you're looking to redefine the one you're in. And you go, well, what do I want? This isn't working for me. What my parents think I should want isn't working for me. It's what I've been doing for 20 years isn't paying off. I want something deeper, something richer. Now, at that point, your relationship that you're in either runs its course, or it reforms itself so that the person you're with and you have a new depth and it's been activated. But there's what I call a preparation phase. In my case, there was a good 12 months. And then the person wandered in. Like, oh, I've been making my way towards that person for 12 months. And I didn't know it at the time, but I've now seen it in my clients as well. That there's a so you almost, because there is a coordinate with the twin flame journey where it's for you. Like, it is externally activated, but it's an internal journey. So you start the transformation for yourself, and that calls in a magnetism of that person. That person feels the ripples across time and space and goes, oh, I think I'll just get in touch, or You know, and some people talk about feeling the energy of the person that they haven't met yet, and they calibrate to that process. And a lot of the tools that I have in my box are about helping you calibrate to the energy of that person, so that when you finally meet in the 3D, or you finally get to know them in the 3D, you're already ready. So there's a preparation phase there.
So it sounds like,
so it doesn't matter if you're single or if you're in a relationship.
Yeah, it sounds like one of the commonalities is that the person has already kind of started somewhat of a growth journey for themselves, right?
Yeah. So I may not be I'm often not the first holistic practitioner they come across.
Yeah.
They've worked with other people at some point, and now they feel drawn to work with me, because this journey is such an interesting one, but it's not particularly easy. Not for the faint-hearted is the phrase that some of my clients have used. And so you need to know that you can make it up a mountain before I show you a different mountain. Like you need. So what people tend to do is, I have had one person who hadn't had days energy work in her life came to me, and she was on a bit of an extreme version. But essentially, they're for people who've already started something of a journey, and now they're ready to accelerate it. And at the moment, there is a mass meeting across the planet of these pairs. So at a time, you might be feeling a call for it where you hadn't before. It's like, oh yeah, whatever. But actually, now's the time.
Yeah.
And
go on. Oh, go ahead.
And interestingly, what I'm observing, and there's been a rise of that kind of divine call for the divine feminine in the last couple of years. And now the divine masculine is rising. So it's the other half of the coordinate. So you might well be a woman who is going, it's time for me to rise. But equally, if you're the male in the equation going, for some reason, I feel it's time to deal with my stuff, the divine feminine, or the women who are embracing that divine feminine, can hold that space while you do so. You know? So that we end up with a template that's built on equality.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, for anyone who's joined us, be sure to say hello, and be sure to ask Emily any questions that you have about, this new paradigm of relationships and twin flames, because I know that there are a lot of people that have questions about twin flames out there. And also, if you're watching the replay, feel free to comment and ask any questions as well, and be sure to tag her, and I know that she will be happy to answer your questions.
Absolutely.
So I'd love for you to tell us more. You did allude to your 12-month container earlier. I'd love for you to tell us more about that and anything else that you're currently offering that we need to know about.
So the way that the programs have evolved is because I see that's what people need, or I've done it myself and then gone in and gone, what if I'd had that, if Spirit had given it to me directly, and I've gone, now I'm going to make that for other people. So I have the 12-month container, because as I went through the journey, I saw the different phases and stages, both for myself and for the people I was working with. And I've realized that saying to them, here's a 3-month container, didn't do it justice, didn't give you long enough to make the shift that you needed. And so, or the shifts that you needed. Therefore, to say it was 12 weeks was a disservice to all concerned. So I have a 12-month container. And the beautiful thing about that, of course, is that you are held in that space for 12 months. So you have your coaching sessions, you have your tools outside that you can use, you have that box to support. It's a wraparound care, because it's an intense journey, and I don't think you're meant to do it by yourself. So there's that part. What also happens for the people where you go, I don't know if I'm ready for 12 months, or I don't know if this person is a twin flame, I'm trying to work it out, can I just see what you do? Then we have a 3-month container, which is the first coordinate of the 12 months. So if, for example, you start the 12 weeks and go, yeah, I've realized this is a thing I need to keep going, that's fine. You can shift across, because you now know what you're looking at. But if you're not sure, you go in there. And what we're also doing, my colleague and I, because we do them together, is that my colleague Camilla Fellis-Arnold, is that there's this soul mission component. So what happens is, she is an amazing intuitive and a channeler, and she has the ability to see what it is that's your soul mission and what's your soul journey. So it's almost like you yourself, you do Akashic records, right? So it's a little bit similar, where you see that and you go, this is where this. Sorry?
No, I said I do similar work. Yeah, I also
Yeah.
have a gift for helping people pinpoint their purpose and all of that.
So she has that, what I call the far-seeing eyes, right? I
Mm-hmm.
have hints of what is possible by that person, but what I'm exceptionally good at is breaking it down. So what she does is she goes, here's where you're going, here's where you are, or how far away you are from where you were supposed to be, but I can see where you need to get to. I then take that and go, great, we're now going to use that like a map. And then I take all my different tools that I use, because I have stuff for the genetics, inherited stuff. I have stuff for the past life stuff. I have tools for changing your subconscious patterns in this life. And what we do is we use that to then go, right, which bit of this soul mission are we supporting within these sessions, and
Mm-hmm.
take you on that journey. So if you do the 3 months, the report is kind of, you can have the report as an extra, but we don't get into it in the same way because it takes you that long. That's why the 12-month container takes you on the journey.
Mm-hmm.
But we have that 3-month container for people who are starting a process. And then we're just organizing that these readings, you can just have the reading.
Mm-hmm.
So she's not going to be sitting doing readings all day. But if people want that as a kind of, well, do I want to go on this mission? A bit like Frodo, do I want to go to Mordor, or should I just stay at home in Bag End? You can look at the report and go, I'll think about it. But what happens is we then take that as part of the container, and we have it as we go along.
Thank you so much for clarifying that. Yeah, that's great that you have that 3-month option, especially for those who aren't sure. And then depending on where they land, they can just continue moving forward with you. Emily, I could talk about this topic with you for days, but we're going to start to wrap up. So, where is the best place for people to reach out to connect with you? And is there anything else that you're feeling guided to bring forward as we wrap up?
Oh, there's a question. Anything else I'm being called to bring forward? What's coming to me is this is the biggest time for people who are either on that twin flame journey or are seeing it as a model and saying, I want a conscious relationship of that type. I want to elevate the relationships that I'm in. This is the time to do it. There is a gateway for it right now. Use it, would be what would come to me. And then the other thing that I was thinking, we were asking about where can people find me, is they can find me on LinkedIn. They can also find me on my Facebook profile. And my website is emilytuck.com with all my different offerings. And today I did a post. You're asking me like what's coming through. Today I did a post, and the phrase, because this was a phrase that was in my soul mission when I saw it, was let go of the wounded dreamers and speak to the determined seekers. And it's about, even though it's a little bit scary, you can walk forward as a determined seeker and keep going. And we'll walk you through that process. They are a companion on that road as you unpick all the pieces. So yeah, are you ready to be a determined seeker?
Mm-hmm. What a perfect way to end their conversation. Great question to marinate in, for sure. Emily, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today to shed light on a subject that I know feels so kind of unclear and cloudy for a lot of people. And as you said, now is the time, when you're feeling guided, that is the time. So thank you so much. And anything else that you feel guided to put in the comments after we jump off here, like your post even from today or your website address, definitely please feel free to do that.
I will. Thank you so much for having this chat.
Thank you. And thank you everybody for watching. Have a great day.